Morning.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, perfect. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. We are making a super spooky, and by spooky I mean very cute, painted ghost. We're gonna learn our acrylic basics and some of my favorite tracing techniques. So do not be afraid. It's gonna be super fun. We're gonna go through every step together. So thanks for being here. We're going to go through the materials first. We're going to go through the class, but one of the benefits of being live with me is that you can ask me questions at the end. So as I go through, your question may be answered, but feel free to drop it in our chat or just wait to the end and drop it in the chat. And we'll make sure everything is answered before we jump off. So the last like 5-10 minutes of class, we'll make sure we get everybody's questions answered. But yeah, so excited to be here. So let's get ghosty. All right, so you saw online, this is our finished product. Love it. We start with our big piece of wood, our super cute plywood ghosty that we got from Michael's. Oh, thanks, Carrie. Our super cute plywood ghosty that we got from Michael's. And if this is sold out in your store, it's online. But if you want to upcycle something you already have, you could still do all the fun stuff we're doing here, but paint it on a plain sheet of wood. So that, you know, if you want to upcycle, do that. This still applies. Got our base. We're using gesso. Gesso is amazing. It is a primer, and so it's white, it's thick, it's got more opacity than more of our budget brand whites normally do. So it's just a good thing to know about and to use. And plywood will take our paint directly, but it's something that's nice to have and to know about. It's gesso, so that's where we're using that. We're going to use 4 colors of acrylic. This whole class is an acrylic class. We're using orange, gray, a pink, and a black. And this super fun color shift. So we're adding that on top of our flowers and our shadows to give it that really lovely lighting effect. So it catches the light and refracts differently and kind of, you know, it's hard to see on the camera, but it makes the shadows look more real in real life, and it kind of blends in to its surroundings. So it's a really fun effect. We will need brushes. We've got a chunky 2-inch brush to get our gesso onto our ghost, and then we've got all these detail brushes. I put in some of these great packs Michael's has online. They're really affordable, but they're great little brushes. So we're going to go through those. A palette. This is just white melamine plastic. It's easy cleanup. We love that. And we'll talk about how to do that as we go through the class. We'll also need pencil and tracing paper. Always need it. And then something to cover your surface. So I'm reusing actually some parchment paper I used when I made this first ghost. I like parchment paper because it's pretty economical. And for something like this, you can roll it out to the size you need and reuse it, right? Because I didn't get too much paint everywhere. But just make sure you cover your surface because it's much easier to put down and prep rather than try and clean up after. But we'll talk about how to handle that if that does happen, if you get some spillage. And then also we'll need for cleanup for our palette, some water, like access to a sink, and some dish soap to be able to clean and respect our brushes. So, and then a little paper towel just in case. Have that a couple sheets standing by. Just anytime you paint, have a couple of just in case sheets if you need to dab. If your water spills, you've got something so it doesn't get too catastrophic on us. Yeehaw. So let's jump into the painting. We are going to get our ghost nice and white. I've got my gesso. I'm going to shake it up a little bit and just put it right on our palette. We're using the thick with 2 C's brushes. Acrylic dries really fast, so we're going to put out not that much and just keep. We're not going to put too much on our palette because we can always just pour more, pour more out. You know what I'm saying? We don't want it to dry on us, so it's easier to err on the side of less. And all I'm doing is just going with the grain of our plywood here, which is up and down. And I'm just getting a nice white coating on our ghosty. Make sure you're wearing something that you are okay if you accidentally get a little acrylic on it, because it is a pain in the booty to get acrylic off your clothes. So I have a couple shirts. I have a pair of jeans that are my paint jeans, just to, they've already been sacrificed to the paint gods, so I don't mind if they get a little splatter on them. You see I'm already needed to get some more paint out. That's easy, right? Doesn't take long. Careful when you open these types of bottles, they do tend to splatter. So if you can learn to open them away from you, that's a good habit to form. You, of course, do not have to use the same color palette that I'm using. This is just a suggestion. So if you want to take your gesso and maybe add like a little kiss of pink, so you've got a little bit of a pinky ghost, or maybe just a touch of gray, so you've got more of a greige ghost, that could be really interesting, right? This is all just a fun jumping off point. But you can mix your acrylic paint with your gesso and kind of get a very light tint for your background. That'd be interesting as well. The only watch out I'd say for that is make sure you mix it all at one time and paint quickly, because you want your paint to be the same. So as I'm doing this in bits and pieces because I have the same color, if I'm mixing, I would get a ton of acrylic and gesso mixed together and just paint quickly. So that's the only mindful on that. You don't want to worry about mixing a whole batch of color. You can also just prime your ghost, gesso your ghost, and then get a pre-made bottle of whatever you like to then have your whole ghost colored. Paint on here. We'll fix that once it dries. Got a thirsty puppy down below me. Oh, good boy. No, sir. Okay. So we're going to let that dry. We've got a covered ghosty. You just want it to get opaque. And looks like I have, this is a relatively new brush. So a couple bristles have come off here. I'll just let it dry and then pick it out. It'll come right out. Oh, if I'm losing bristles here, that's all right. So I could do another coat just to get it truly opaque, but for the sake of time, we're gonna keep moving and let this start drying. I will let my puppy out. Yep, not quite dry enough to come. There we go. Okay. My puppy is bell trained, so he lets me know when he wants to go OUT, so I had to let him. Okay, so we're gonna put this down. We've got a nice white ghost, and acrylic dries fast, right? We know that. So if I were not teaching live right now, I would run to my sink and go wash this fresh. But instead, what I'm gonna do is dunk it in soapy water. All this is water with a little natural dish soap in it. And I'm just moving my bristles around a bit just so the acrylic doesn't dry and ruin our brush. So we're just gonna say sorry, don't be mad, and put you aside. Put this palette out of the way. Put this ghosty out of the way. And we're gonna draw our flowers. Acrylic doesn't take long to dry, but we do want it to be dry once we keep painting our layers. We'll know that it's done when it's not shiny anymore, so you can see on this left side, oops, on this left side that it's still a little shiny. You know what? Well, actually, we have the gesso out. We're gonna do the edges too. This ghost, you can hang it. It's got the cute little hook already attached, or you can lean it. But I also painted the edges. So I took a filbert number 12, just a little flat. Took some gesso, and all I did was just go around and paint the edge. For sake of time, we're not going to do the whole edge together, but that's all we do. Just using that same gesso, just making a nice pretty edge. Easy peasy. And then went in and painted inside the little eyes and mouth. And I will paint inside our little eyes because we're going to put that fun little eyeliner, and I used black on the inside as well. And it'll show up the same level of opaque because it has white underneath it. So we want it to be the same color. So if I put black on this plywood and white and black on top of the white here, it wouldn't be the same shade of black. So we're gonna have a match. So we're gonna paint this. Hopefully you find this part relaxing and you can just be present and enjoy, you know, the sound of the brush strokes and enjoy that you're doing something with your hands and maybe trying something new. Okay, so we would go all the way around, but you know, we're on a time crunch here, people. So you know what to do. Keep filling in these edges and around. It'll be lovely. We're gonna dunk this little brush in the water. Move this stuff out of the way temporarily while it dries. So we can draw some flowers. Just getting paint on the cords. Okay, great. Little feng shui. So I just drew all our fun stuff on tracing paper, and we're gonna do the same thing. I love tracing paper. It's highly underrated. So for the flowers, right? Hello, tiny flowers. All I did was take a pencil and a piece of tracing paper, and I just drew one little circle. And then I just drew 5 around it. About the same size. I thought that looks like a good size. Hold it up over my ghost. And then I folded it and then just looked at that shape and then drew on top of it. Now we have this, right? Let's trace that. And it's a sweet little flower. And then I'll just add okay, that looks good. That looks like this little one. And now I'll hold it over my ghost and say, yeah, that looks like a good size. This is probably like 3/4 of an inch. These little circles were probably about the size of a hole punch. Of course, you can make bigger or smaller, but this was just right. We did this so quickly. And now I'm just going to pair my little flower out and put that aside because we're still waiting for this ghost to fully dry. We're going to talk about how we put the cheeks on. So those cheeks, little cheekers. All I did was take the bottom of our paint and take my pencil and trace it all the way around. And then we painted it in. So we will do that once it's dry. So that's how we get that shape. And we'll just look at our ghost and place it and be like, yes, this looks right. Boom. Tracy, Tracy, painty, painty. We love it. The shadows, super fun. I think it gives it, more dimension, more little interest. It's still the flat style of the ghost, but in a new manner. Get all this stuff over here. Okay. So I just held my tracing paper over my ghost at first and just drew the kind of outline edge. Right, I just traced the edge of this. And then just freehanded like, oh, that seems like a nice little fabric-y shape, right? We're just doing something like the folds of this ghost little fabric. And that's just that. Now we've got the shape and we'll apply it to our other ghost. And we'll do the same thing over here. We'll just trace this. Badly trace this edge. And right, I'm just doing it a little different. I think the scale is good, right? Just a little bit folds. You could have your folds go up higher, whatever you like. I just wanted a little more room for the flowers. Now we have these little shadows. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just, I don't know where my scissors are, so we'll just rip them. Yep, or just rip them up. That's fine. What happens when you don't have your scissors nearby? We've got our little fold, we've got our little flower, and then our eyeliner. As you can imagine, I did the same thing. Took my tracing paper and I traced the outline of its eye. Cut out. And then I started drawing. I did a couple. First, I was thinking, oh, maybe I give it some crazy winged eyelashes, and I just decided on a classic little cat eye. You can do whatever you want. You can decide to give it many eyelashes, whatever you want. But I went for just a nice little cat eye. I thought that was fun. And I'm tracing the one I just drew here, but just freehanded. Right? And then you can look over your ghost. Now I think this one's almost dry. Yep. Okay, we can get our new ghost back. Okay. But I just trace it over and just kind of look at each other and that is not the same. Right? You can decide maybe you want to do fake eyelashes. That's fun. Or you can do like we have, whatever you want. But the nice thing about tracing over, you can stand back and see before you commit. What do I want? Do I like this? Do I like the left one? Do I like the right one? Do I want none of these? No commitment, just vibes. Okay, so we'll do the one we did in the first one, and I will, just for the sake of speed, trace this little buddy over here. We've got funny little eyeliner. We'll love it. Now that we've got everything drawn, we're going to check that our ghost is dry. Doesn't look shiny. Couple tap, tap, taps. Not getting paint, nothing tacky. And then the brush, those bristles that were stuck here, I just dusted them off and they came loose. You can see I've got paint on my parchment paper. That's why we always put something down on our surface just so we can paint and not worry. Okay. Let's trace our cheeks. So I just use the bottom of our paint bottle because it's a nice little space. And then everything from here you can get at Michael's listed in the class. So if you're just joining, everything is listed in the class and all available at michaels.com. So I'm just taking our paint and, it's nice to use circles we already have. So we don't have to freehand a circle. And this looks like a nice spot. I'm just gonna lightly take my pencil and trace around it. Drawing a little heavier than I would, but I want you to see the outline. Little circle. Sweet little face. Looks good. Great. So we have our little ghosty cheeky outlines. Those are heavier than I would draw, but for the sake of y'all being able to see what I'm doing. Now, y'all remember we drew these little shadows? We're gonna pull up our ghost. The pencil side is here. We're gonna flip it over and apply, by tracing on the other side of our ghost, we're gonna apply that pencil lead onto our dried paint. So I'm just now drawing on the other side of my tracing. And now my pencil is transferring. One of my favorite tricks. Now I've got a nice outline for me to paint into. I didn't press it hard on that side. We've got our little shadow shape ready to be painted in. But again, since we're painting with gray and we're just drawing with pencil, if you decide on the fly you actually want the shadow to be a little taller, you can totally do that, right? You can draw on your tracing paper before you try and trace, right? You flip it and trace it and say, oh yeah, I don't know, or just freehand it very lightly and gently erase with your pencil. So always, when you're tracing stuff, have a lighter hand than I do right now. Makes any changes easier. Let's see, I'll go this one. I think this was the one we just did together. It's a big old shadow. If I'm like, too big of a shadow, don't want it, I won't flip it around and use it. Or maybe I'll move something around, right? This is the fun thing about trying before you're buying here. Didn't press hard enough. You may, as you're doing this, decide you want to flip flop it. Then I would just take flip flop the orientation of your trace. That is, I would just go ahead and then put more lead on the other side that you want to use, and then bring it back. So if something you want is reversed, just draw on the other side, and you'll have lead there, and then you can put it down onto your piece. Shadows. Flower we drew doesn't have an orientation, but if it did, we could do the same thing and say, I want this side, trace it, and then put it down and draw on that side. So very easy to change to the orientation we need. That's good. We had a flower up top, and we had a couple around here. So let's trace them around. Oh, I think this is the flower we drew just now. We'll use that one. It's dry, so I'm just moving it around so it's closer to me. Yeah. The lead's on this side. I'll flip this over. In place. All right. Lovely. The same thing. Oop, seems like that was a little white still. This is why we have a paper towel on hand. Okay. Have a nice mix. For the sake of time, I'm not going to put down all the flowers, but place them wherever you see fit. I kind of had them scattered to kind of keep the eye moving. It's your ghost, do whatever you want. If you want to have them all through like a pattern, do that. You know, just it's a great way to be able to look at your whole piece of a composition before you place something down. So, you know, maybe you don't want to have it right here if you have everything else more spaced out. Maybe you do. You know, that's just something to learn about spacing and tension, visual tension, right? So let's put this aside because how we paint them is the same. Let's get some paint out. Let's get some color. Start up here. Oh, Peter's gonna die. Let's get a charger. Teaching live. All right, great success. Okay, so we've got our orange. We're gonna do these flowers. I'm grabbing just my matte orange Craftsmart acrylic. Shaky, shaky. I'm just putting just a touch. And according to my notes, what brush should I use? Oh, I used a Filbert 6. Perfect. Filbert is a brush that's got this nice rounded edge here. You can use a flat. This is just what I used. And I take notes when I make this just to make sure everyone, if you want to, is using the same thing. As you can see, we can see my pencil lines as I'm starting to put this paint down. So another reminder to just be really soft with your paint lines when you're transferring. Of course. Just quickly fill that in since we already had our shape outlined. I would probably do another layer here just so it's more opaque. But again, yeah, less is more with the pencil so you don't see it through. We'll go ahead and grab our other flowers while we're here. I transferred that little center dot from my tracing here. Now we're going to have to put a couple layers of white on top of that to make it not seen, or what I recommend is actually not transferring it and just doing the outside shape, but I wanted it to read for y'all. Okay. Little flower, quick and easy. Gonna dunk this in water since we don't have a sink. What I would do, and what y'all should definitely do when you're painting live, is go to your sink, run water down your brush, get a little dish soap, and just gently rub your bristles together and make sure the water's running down. If you have it up, the paint is going to get into this edge of your brush, and it's going to be really hard to get out. Your brush won't brush that smooth way it's supposed to because there's little chunks of paint in there. Then you cry, it's a whole problem. So just make sure you wash your brushes with soap and water, give them a good rinse, and then let them dry. I kind of angle them down in my sink even so they drip dry into the sink. And then you can, just dab them with paper towel if they're not totally dry. But that is how we clean a brush so it does not get mad. I would use the same brush to do the cheeks, but that brush is currently dirty. So instead, we're going to fill in our cheeks. These flowers took 2 coats of orange. These cheeks will also do the same, but we'll just do one here together for time. But all I did was just put a touch on my palette. This one I'm using an 8 filbert. I'm gonna let this puppy inside since he's grumpy, sir. Okay. Oh. Maybe calm down. Thank you. Teaching live. Puppies don't know that. Grabbing our pink and just filling in that circle we made. And with this, it took, 2 coats to get it nice and white. Go lay down, Bubba. No. Go lay down, please. No. No. Okay, 1 second. So sorry. Okay, so this took about 2 coats as well. And same thing. Boy. Have a lighter hand when you're tracing so you don't see your own pencil line. Super fun. If you make some kind of, in your view, catastrophic mistake when you're doing this, don't worry. You have a backside that is the exact same. So no big deal. Acrylic is great too if you do something, if you totally just oops and make your cheeks something that you really hate, you can let it dry fully and probably cover it with gesso with enough coats. Or you can just flip it over. But that's something nice about acrylic is that it does layer quite well once it's dry. But you do have to use a couple layers with this type of paint to make it, to really cover up, any kind of quote unquote mistake. So I'm cleaning my brush in my soapy water action over here just so we can get to our shadows. So our orange, we do about 2 coats. And again, we let it dry. This orange is dry already. It's not shiny, and if I dab it, no tacky, no paint is coming up. So I would be fine to go ahead and kiss this with another coat. We're gonna move on to our shadows. So I'm shaking this gray. It's just called gray, classic, nice light gray. And I'm gonna fill in the shadows we made. The brushes I would use are dirty, so we're gonna grab another one. Reach into the brush bucket here. I would have used the same filbert I just used for the pink. I think it was an 8, but I'm just grabbing a flat. No big deal. And for this gray as well, when we're filling in these shadows, it took about 2 coats to get opaque. Why I like opaque for acrylic is you don't have to worry about your brush strokes. And as a new painter, and for this kind of style that we're doing, it's a very flat style. So it lends itself to having just opaque pieces of color and keeping it all very two-dimensional visually. So 2, maybe 3, just depending on how heavy you load your brush. But you'll be able to tell when you're, working on your piece if you need a 3rd coat or not, if it's all the same level. Of thickness or not. No puppy. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry, and this would take 2 or 3 more coats. So for all our little pieces, we'd fill in this one that's just the same way. Again, time, but you can totally do that. I'm gonna dunk this brush in the water, but y'all would go wash it. And we're gonna apply our little eyeliner here. We're gonna turn this around. Make your surface come to you. Flip our ghosty. Grab our eyeliner. No, Bubba, get your toy. Sure, this is dry. Yes, it is. Oh, let's see, what side did I draw on it? I don't know. So we'll just draw over it again really quick. Go lay down, Bubba. Okay. Line it up. Transfer it. All right. That came up pretty light, so I'm going to draw over it so y'all can see. I went too far on this pencil line. I'm just going to take my eraser. All right. Eyeliner. Right, I was going pretty fast, and so I don't love this curve. So I'm actually just going to fix it real quick with my pencil. And that's something too, when you're with your paint, you can kind of make that adjustments. And then when y'all are painting, right, we primed the inside too of the eyeball. I just took my pencil and made a line so I knew where to bring that black. So it really added like this depth. So even the inside of our eyes have that color as well. And if you decide to do anything on the lips, like, you could give it like a tiny, like little bow lip. That would be cute. And a little lip at the end. I would also bring it in to give it that more like sense of depth. So right, we're still like working with 2D style, but using how flat our piece is. Okay, so we've got that trace. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side, but we're working live. So we're just gonna grab our black, lovely black acrylic. I got a tiny flat here. Shaky, shaky. When you're ready to clean up your palette, just get a wet piece of paper towel and with a little bit of dish soap, and honestly just wipe it down. You'll get the most of your paint off. You can save the paint from going into your sink and just put it into your waste bin, and then honestly take a little more wet paper towel and wipe it off. Then if you need to, get a little more soapy water and then dry it with the paper towel. And yeah, so it's a good thing about acrylic is it's pretty easy to come off of a palette made for it. This black has got some decent pigmentation, but I still did 2 coats just because we wanted that same opaque style we've got everywhere else, that fun jet black. We love a contrast. We love a good black eyeliner. I never get too much paint all the way up to my bristles because I don't want to ruin my brush. So this is pretty high up my brush. I don't let it go any farther because it's really hard to get that paint out of this edge. Looks like a good first coat on the top, and then I'm just going to take this paint and go on this side. Right, I'm just following that pencil line we made. And bring it down. We need more paint, but you get the point. So then you just follow the pencil line, fill that in, and this will also take 2 coats. Okay. This stuff you really, it's fun to be in small little detail part. Okay. So this cheek takes 2 coats. This eyeliner takes 2 coats. We have 2 coats on our oranges. Let's pretend, right? Right now we have 1. But this is where we get that, oops, wrong bottle, that fun effect. We take this color shift. It's just another acrylic. It's iridescent and it's pretty translucent. So we're using it as our top. So I'm just taking a little bit here. I'm running out of brushes. Grab another one. Taking this color shift iridescent, and then I'm placing it over my flower. So that gives it that really fun shimmer. It makes the color less saturated, a little more ghastly, and provides nice contrast because our paint, our white ghost is so matte, and then we have these flowers and our shadows that we'll do here in a second that have that shimmer. Especially, Halloween, normally our lighting is kind of darker, so it's nice to have that interest. And this color shift, you only need 1 coat. It's just, you're just covering your orange flower, and you'll be able to see it, when it's live, that it has that nice pearlescent effect. Shiny, shiny. And we're gonna do the same thing with our shadow. So once you have 2 coats of this, do the same thing and take your color shift, and now this starts to look like this kind of ghastly shadow. So it's a really fun effect we can do with pretty little effort. Okay, right, fill that in. You get the idea. And just to finish the flower, all I did, we have our shiny orange. All I did was wait for that to dry, and I took the gesso that we already used, and I just took a teeny little brush. I got a good amount of gesso on it, and I just did a handsome dot for all of them. So I covered up my pencil. I had a very tiny pencil line, and just covered up right in the middle, just give them those fun centers. And we have it. So while you're waiting for your paint to dry, jump off, go wash a brush, do what you need to do. So easy to wipe your palette. Remember to just cover your surfaces. That's it. I hope this is super fun. If you make a quote unquote mistake, you can cover it up with gesso, or you can always flip it over. But hopefully you feel confident about what you're putting down, because we're using tracing, and we can really make decisions in our little ghastly composition before we put marks down on our piece. So hopefully that makes it not spooky and just fun. If you did what I did and quickly got some acrylic on your hanger, you can wait for it to be fully dry, and just with enough friction, that paint will kind of start to chip off. So you can remove that, or you can go with it and actually just paint the rope. Sometimes accidents lead to ideas. So
we do have one question for you if you're ready for those.
Perfect. I was about to say, I was like, I think I'm running into question time here. So perfect.
Cool. Yeah. In the beginning, when you were talking about like mixing in paint to kind of tint the ghost a little,
yeah.
Someone asked if you can mix in glow in the dark paint.
Glow in the dark paint is an interesting thing. You actually can't mix it in because it won't. The glow effect will not really show up. Glow in the dark, you have to use like a top coat. So once you're done with everything, if you want your ghost or maybe even just your cheeks or stuff to glow, put that on last. You also, with glow in the dark acrylic, you have to do quite a few layers. So be mindful of that. It's a lot of layering, dry times, and it does make your things lighter. So if you want to have your whole ghost glow in the dark, I would gesso it nice and opaque, and then I would do, oh gosh, probably honestly 3 layers of your glow and letting it dry in between each layer, and then go ahead and do your tracing. Glow in the dark is fun, but yeah, it definitely makes things lighter. You have to do quite a few layers, and it has to be exposed to light. So even still, sometimes it doesn't show. Also, glow in the dark does tend to show brush strokes. So make sure you're, being pretty mindful and doing multiple coats when you're doing that. I also, if it's your first time playing with it, I would do like an accent, like maybe just your cheeks are glow in the dark and your flowers, start small just so you see how it works before you commit to a whole big piece, because it's a little tricky at times. So yeah, but use it as a top coat. Don't mix it in. But if you want to do a tint, using the pink we already bought, mix a big old chunk of gesso and just a little bit of pink, and mix it in and do your whole thing. It could be cool to do that with orange. You could make a gray ghost, whatever you want. So yeah, hopefully that's fun. I'm sorry we didn't get through everything on time, but as y'all know, crafting takes time, teaching takes time. So I hope this was helpful and fun and you feel ready to ghost it up. Is there any other questions I can answer while we're here?
I think that was just about it.
Okay, great. Then I will quickly show you a PDF that is a very spooky thing. Share my screen. Share. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Carrie. Okay, prep now, save time later. Acrylic paint. Always cover your surfaces. As we saw, paint gets everywhere. Get you some painting clothes. And then, wow, the crime scene. I was walking the dog and saw this. It was an actual paintbrush left for dead, covered in acrylic paint. It was probably house paint, honestly, but it's the same property where it really does dry fast and will destroy a brush. So make sure you always wash your brushes, save your little tools lives, and have so much fun. So that's all I have for you. I really appreciate you so much. And if there's no other questions, go be spooky.